What's up? How you doing? Here we are. Beautiful day today. Beautiful day. Blue sky. Slight breeze. And humidity is around 54%. Gives you a feeling of well-being inside today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the movie Jaws. Came out in 1975. Directed and written by Steven Spielberg. I saw it the other day again. It was the 50th anniversary version. I think it's remastered. It looks crisp, brand new, like it was shot yesterday. And this time we saw it at home on our television set. But I'm going to go in reverse order. First, though, I have wine for the occasion. Look at that. Right. Jaws, Amityville Island Red. 2023 California Red Blend. So I don't know what that means, but they blended it with something. This wine celebrates the 50th anniversary of Jaws, the first summer blockbuster. So we're going to try a little bit. We have a website here. Somewhere. So 13.5% alcohol, which is kind of like average, I think, for a wine. We're going to open it up, take a little taste. Always drink in moderation. Don't drink and drive. Otherwise, you're going to be wrapped around a tree. One of those big ones with the big roots that go into the concrete. Have one of these, like a ballerina. Right off the bat, has a nice fragrance, nice aroma. It smells like when you go into a winery and you fall into a barrel. That's what it smells like. So I got a little, this is not a standard wine glass, but we're going to use this anyway. It does the same job. Nice color. Nice and cold. I don't like, I do not like my wine warm. Don't like it. Good color. Good aroma. Not bad. Not bad. Pretty good wine. Cheers. That's not bad. So I saw the 50th anniversary. Big difference in the quality of the images, the picture. Very, very sharp, high definition. And the last time I saw it was in 2015, 10 years ago at the 40th anniversary. And back then I saw it in the movie theater. Now, this is a movie theater I would go to all the time. It has since closed. It's in hiatus actually right now. It's called the ArcLight. That was our favorite theater at the time. Now we don't go there anymore for obvious reasons. It's in hiatus. So they were showing it back then, the 40th anniversary. So for the first time, I got to see it on a big screen. And I appreciated it more. You enjoy it more on the big screen. And then prior to that, I think I saw it on television a couple of times on regular TV, Zenith System 3. But the first time I saw it, it was in a drive-in theater. And I went It was me, my uncle, my sister, my cousins, right? And he drove us. He said, "You guys, you know," we told him. He didn't tell us. He had no idea. Said to him, "Hey, can we go see Jaws? It's playing in the drive-in." So he took us, and we went. We all paid. We didn't hide in the trunk and then jump out. We parked. I remember the spot we parked. And back then, I guess the technology had advanced to the point where you could turn on your radio in some obscure station at the far right of the AM dial, and you can listen through the speakers of the car the movie going on. You know what was going on in the movie. So in the old days, you had to get a little speaker, put it by your window, and everybody had to listen to that little speaker. But now it was advanced. So my uncle let that go by. My uncle was worried that, you know, after a couple of hours of the radio being on, that the battery would die. But at the same time, they told you to do that on the instruction sheet. Right on the bottom, it said that don't worry about your battery dying. All you have to do is start up the car, which it will start, they said, and it will take like 15-30 seconds or something, and it'll totally recharge from that amount of time that you use it to listen to the movie. And they were right. But I was thinking, what about if somebody has a battery that's on its last legs, and that radio playing for 2 hours is enough to kill it? Then what? Do you have somebody in the drive-in area like that has jumper cables ready to jump people? I don't know. So we went and saw it. That was my first time seeing that movie. Had no idea what it was about. And I will tell you that the younger you are, the more those movies make an impact on you. I saw it the other day. It was okay, but it wasn't the same as when I saw it the original time. So, but you know, I enjoyed it. And best place, you know, yeah, it's great to see movies at your home in front of a high definition 4K, 8K television set. But the experience of seeing it in a movie theater with other people, where you get the reaction of the other people, you can't duplicate that. It's not the same. You know, I've seen many movies at home, I've seen many movies in the theater, and the ones I see in the theater are more enjoyable. Although I will say that if a movie is boring to me, I want to fall asleep, and I do. And then I'll get a nudge, and my wife, my bride, will say, "You're snoring," which I don't know if that's true. I don't know. I don't hear it. So anyway, it's not bad. There's a little bit of a flavor in there I cannot define. I don't know what that is. It's, you know, wine flavor. LAPD. You know, I've been in planes many times in my life. Many times I've been in planes. I've never been in a helicopter. And it looks fun. Looks fun. But I remember first time I was in an airplane, man, every relative that came to visit me before my trip, they all were like, "You're going on an airplane," and making it all exciting. They brought me model airplanes, little airplanes, big airplanes, whatever. And then I got on the plane, I was so excited. I'm a big, you know, train guy, and also a big airplane guy. And when that thing took off the first time, I was looking out the window, and I was fascinated with the view down below. So, yeah. So I was on a little trip, just got back. Went to a few islands in the Mediterranean. I went to the country of Turkey. Apparently they don't like to be called Turkey. I didn't know that. But we were there, and day, the people that live there said that we don't like that. We don't like being called Turkey, the country. You know, we like Turkiya, something like that. And I said, if that's the way they like it, then you know, call them that. You know, that's what they want to be called. So we went there, and we had a good time. Good time. Weather very, very warm. At times hot. Istanbul was more modern than I expected. I thought it would be more like, you know, old looking, like, you know, black and white photography, but it was not. It was not. I went to the Grand Bazaar, a lot of stuff in there. I bought a few things. I bought stuff that I looked at and I go, yeah, that, you know, why would they bother faking that? You know, it's got to be real. And so I got it. Plus the price was right, so met a few people in there. But it was a good time, and we took a cruise. The best part of the whole trip was the ship. I would get up at night, and I would look out into the ocean. Very creepy at night, the ocean. You know, especially if it was a little bit breezy out and no moon. And then you would look at the sky and you would see thousands of little dots of lights. So I would get out, I'd look around, and I'd look in the distance, and a lot of times you would see lights in the distance, and I had binoculars. I always bring binoculars on these trips. And I gotta get better ones. I mean, you know, I have good ones, but I gotta get even, like, maybe Nikon binoculars or something like that. So I would look out, and I would see other ships. Sometimes they were cargo ships, sometimes they were oil tankers, you know, different things like that. And one particular night, I saw these red lights probably a few hundred yards away, and it looked like the way when you go to an airport at night and you look at the runway and it's all lined up with red lights. That's what it looked like. But it didn't look like a ship, because it looked like flat to the actual, you know, water. So I got my binoculars, I went and I looked, and I could see the lights. I couldn't tell what they were on. It was not an island though, because I did my you know, Google Maps thing, and there was no, you know, landmass anywhere near us at that point. So I don't know what that was. I'm assuming it was a low ship, but you know, I couldn't tell. I couldn't hear any noise, although you don't really hear a noise on these ships. They're very quiet. And then another night, I look out and I see way on the horizon, which would be about 6 miles away, I see a bright light, and at first I thought that was the moon. I thought the moon was coming up, and I said, oh, it's probably the moon. But when I got my binoculars, I looked and I saw that it was a cruise ship, and I said, oh, it's a nice cruise ship. But after a while, I looked away, and then I looked back, and I saw that the cruise ship, so we're going this way, and the cruise ship is here, and I noticed it was now here, now, and I said, that thing looks like it's going to hit us. I don't know if the pilot went to bed. I mean, the pilot, the ship's captain went to bed, and everybody thought maybe he's still in there, and nobody's watching, you know, where the thing's going. I don't know. Maybe they have the autopilot off, or auto captain off. But it looked like it was coming right towards us to hit us right on the side. So I kept an eye on it, and it kept coming and coming and getting bigger and bigger. And all of a sudden, with my naked eyes, I could see that it was a ship, where before I needed the binoculars. So it caught up to us. And I said to myself, I go, there's an entire ocean out there, and this thing came up to us. Was that necessary? I don't think so. So right when I got within a few hundred yards, which is very close for a big ship, I saw that the speed had dropped off on this ship that was near us, and it kind of turned away from us. And then we kept going, and I looked, and it was shrinking, because we had, you know, continued to move at the same speed we were going, and that thing had lost speed. But I don't know what was going on. It's like almost like the two captains were talking. He said, oh, I'm going to catch up to you, and the guy's like, I don't think you can. And he's like, I think I can. I think I can reach you. And he reached him, and then he said, okay, see, I reached you. Now I'm going to back off. But they got close. I was ready to get on the phone and call up like Julie McCoy or something and tell her there is a ship heading right at us. So that, and you know, but it was a very nice experience. Probably the best, not probably, this was the best trip in my life. Second place, which used to be first place, is the trip we took last year to Alaska. You know, and that one, you know, was better in certain ways. Like the mountains in the Alaskan trip were far more impressive, you know, than, I mean, these were impressive too, especially the ones in Santorini, the cliffs there. And there were other mountains I could see in Turkey from a distance. But the Alaskan trip, hands down, the mountains were far more impressive. But this trip had a lot more stuff, better ship, longer time, and, you know, better weather. The Alaskan was a little drizzly, cloudy, foggy. Yeah, you're in Alaska, what do you expect, you know? But it was a really good trip, and that one is a close second. Good memories on that one too. And the other thing I find weird, so the ship, you know, pulls into the pier, the docking area, right? And it opens up, you know, how are we gonna get off here? You think you're gonna get off the top and take a ladder or something down, but you don't. They open up the side of the ship that's just right above the water. They open up this big thing, and then you walk down from there. And I'm thinking, I guess that's how they rescue people, you know, if like something happened to you, they have a side door that, you know, they open up and they come right up to you, and then they pull you in. But I don't understand how the ship stays that high up above, you know, where the water is. I always thought that, you know, like, okay, say the ship, I'll give you an example here. Say the ship is this thing here, right? And you're going through the water. I always thought the water was like right above, like right here. And most of the ship was underwater. Like they had a big thing underwater. And then the stuff you see is maybe 40%, 35% of the ship, right? The rest of it's underwater. But when you pull into the docks and then you get off the ship and you look, the ship looks like just this part here is underwater, because you can see that big round thing, you know, that big round thing in front of the ship. Looks like a sausage or something. Yeah, you could see that. And that thing is right at the bottom, so I don't know how the ship stays afloat. Made out of iron like that, and it's all the way up top. I don't know. I got to read more about the science of this, because it's kind of weird to me that all that is able to float and just a little bit of it is underwater. Even an iceberg, most of it's underwater. Imagine the first guy that discovered that metal, if it's formed in the right way, can float. Steel. They probably said, that's ridiculous, burn him at the stake. And probably they did, the first guy. And then centuries passed, and some other guy said, no, that's real, you can do that. And they said, all right, let's see. And he showed them, and then they said, all right, let's do it that way, it's stronger. But, you know, you wouldn't think that metal like that could float, but the way it's built and the density of the water on the outside versus the density of the inside allows it to float. So it was a good time. My kids enjoyed it. My wife, you know, obviously enjoyed it. Had a really good time there. I had a really good time. I will say this, it's very hard to make a U-turn on some of these islands. You miss a turn somewhere and you have to make a U-turn. You have to find some location that's a little bit wider, because those roads are narrow, and you try and make a U-turn, and it's very hard. Very hard. Did some swimming there. I'll comment on that. That was a good experience with the swimming. So apparently the Mediterranean Ocean has a higher salt content than the Atlantic and the Pacific. That's obvious, because it's a smaller body of water, it's more concentrated, so you have a higher, it's probably like 4% or something like that. and it's easy to float. It's almost like somebody's pushing you up. It's like, hey, I'll hold you. All right. So I was in there. I said, I'm gonna just try, back float. What do they call it? Dead man's float or something. And I did it. It's like the water just raises you, and you just float at 4%. Now imagine going somewhere where it's like 10, 15, 20% salt, 30%. There are places that are 30% salt content. I mean, that you won't be able to go in the water. It'd be just like on top of it. So yeah, at 4%, I had a really easy time swimming around. So I did that, did a little walking. Very, very nice, very nice. I did not see any sharks. Yeah, and I will get back to talking about this for a second, but in today's world, if you put out a movie like that with a shark looking like that, people would laugh at you. It would be a B movie instantly, no matter how good the plot was. But back then, they didn't have the technology, and people's imagination took over and made the shark look better to them. But I look at the shark now, especially on high definition, and it looks ridiculous, fake to the bone. Now they wouldn't even use a mechanical shark; they would use a CGI, the way they make those Sharknado movies. At some point, though, they use real sharks. In this, the Jaws movie, you see a real one, going through, and they have a totally different look. And why is the shark so angry? I mean, in its mind, revenge. Got to get these people. I got to get them. For what? Why? I know when they did sequels, they became more asinine as each one was made. Wasn't there one where they followed the family, or the shark followed the family? They went to Africa or something, the shark was there. I caught a shark years ago when I was a kid. I would go fishing. We had a really nice location. It was on private property. But we would go there. We wouldn't bother anybody. We'd fish a couple hours and go home. We wouldn't make any noise, things like. My father was very quiet. It was like shh, shh. But one time I pulled out a shark, and I know sharks very dangerous. You go to grab to remove the hook, and they can give you a little bite with those teeth and cut you, remove the tip of a finger like that. So I never. But the shark I caught was like about that. Yeah, about that big. It was not big at all. I pulled it out, and I said, yeah, it's a shark. It looked like a land shark or something. Probably not. Probably a sand shark. But yeah, caught. Actually, a few times I caught a shark that size. But yeah, I've never run into one while swimming. I have run into a turtle once. That's a funny story. We were in Hawaii many years ago when I was younger, and I was swimming. I was way out past my wife. She was out there too, but I was a little bit beyond her. And I look, and this was in Hawaii, I look and I see one of those big turtles coming towards me. I could see it, and I looked under and I could see the big body. It was huge turtle. And at one point I was thinking, what about if I go behind it and grab it, from like the shoulder area, and just ride it around like Aquaman would do? But then I said, I don't know, is that real? Can you do that? Or they get upset and they snap at you. They bite off, like a bicep. So I did not do that, but I did turn and say to my wife, turtle, right? And she started swimming like, okay, let me tell you how it looked like to me. The way she was swimming at that speed, it looked like she was in a mall and she was going to a shoe store. That's what it looked like. And then she got out real quick. I go, that was fast for a turtle. And then I got out, and then she started explaining to the people, and I could hear her saying that there was a shark. And I said, no, I didn't say shark, I said turtle. And then everybody's like, okay, yeah, we've seen those. But still, it was huge. It was a very big turtle. And it was coming towards us, like almost like it wanted to say, hey, what are you doing here? But to us, it looked, I don't know, to me, because I'm the only one that saw it, it looked kind of like aggressive. So anyway, that's what happened. My wife thought, and that's why she got out of there so fast. She thought it was a shark. Now we all know the trick with the shark, right? A shark's coming at you. You know, position yourself, and you punch right in the nose, get it all teary-eyed, a little bit blurry vision, disoriented, and then you have time to get out, right? But I don't know if you have time to do all that. Maybe the shark's quicker than you think. You're a little bit off with your punch, or maybe the shark's been punched before and it's used to that, and it's that's not really an issue. It'll come get you anyway. So that's it. I recommend this. Where's it made? Napa. It's licensed, though. It says Universal City Studios. They have the permission to use the image and the word Jaws. Amity Island. It's funny, that was shot at Martha's Vineyard down the Cape, but they also must have shot scenes at Universal Studios, because they have a place there that's called Amity Island. I know because I've taken the tour, I don't know how many times, dozens and dozens of times throughout my life. Dozens, believe me. I've been on that tour to see all the sites down below at Universal Studios many times. I can't even tell you how many. I've lost count. But they have a section there, and I think, what was it, that Angela Lansbury show, Murder, She Wrote, right? That was also filmed in the same location, same area, same buildings. So that's it this weekend. We may see some movie. I don't know. 4th of July is coming. That was always a very good holiday for me and my friends growing up. We had a lot of fun, a lot of fireworks. I don't mess around with that stuff now. I mean, once in a while when I go out to Vegas, the desert there, I will buy, I haven't done it in years, but I would buy a bunch of rockets and light them off in the desert. But I haven't done that in many years. When I was a kid, though, I found the place in my city there where they sold this stuff secretly. I didn't know what that was at first. Nobody would tell you, because everybody was selling fireworks that they wanted you to buy it from them, and nobody would tell you the source. And then one time somebody kind of accidentally, said where it was, and I went and found the place. And then I said, hey, you know what? It's really cheap. I thought it was cheap when I was buying it off of the middleman. Back then, a pack of firecrackers were 25 cents a pack, which I thought was cheap. Oh my God, I'd pay a lot more than 25 cents. I would. But they were 25, and I remember this kid in my neighborhood was selling them once, and I went down there with, they got like $10, and I bought 40 packs, which was a ton. I was like, just had them in my pockets and everything. I went back, lit them all off in like 15 minutes. But I was a big fireworks guy. It was later on that I realized a little bit dangerous. A couple of times blew up in my hand. I was like holding it too long, and then at some point the wick accelerated, and by the time I could let it go, it blew up. That happened a few times. Another time, I didn't know this, I know it now, but bottle rockets, right? So you light the bottle rockets, and my father it was a Sunday, and he was sleeping in a little bit. My father, was an early guy. He would get up at 4, go to work. But that Sunday, it might have been a Saturday, but it was a weekend, I remember. He was, and I was up early. I think it was like 7 a.m. I got up. I had to light up my bottle rockets, little ones. They look like firecrackers on a red stick. So I lit them up, but they were with report, and that means that when they go up in the sky, they blow up. And I was like, my father's gonna hear that. He's gonna get annoyed. So what about if I cut off the top, and then that way the explosive part will not be there, and then it won't make that sound. It'll be okay. So I did the first one. I got a knife inside, and I removed the top, and I lit it, and it went up and did not blow up. It just went up. Did the second one, and now anybody who's done this knows exactly what I'm about to say. And what I'm about to say is that I don't know what it is. It's the friction of the knife. It sets off the explosive part, and it blows up in your hand. So I did that, and it blew up in my fingers. I was very annoyed, and you'd think, okay, you know, you learn your lesson. No, I did not. I went and got it looked like a little hatchet. It was a heavy knife, like a hatchet. And I went and got that, and I grabbed it again, and I did a quick thing, like, you know, boom, like a karate chop with it, and it still blew up. So there's something in there that when it comes in contact with metal, it blows up, or it ignites. So I ended up waiting for my father to wake up, and then I just lit him. I recommend it. Yeah, but I was big time into that when I discovered where they sold these. It was in the Italian part of town, and I would go there, and it was an alley. You had to go down an alley, and on the right hand side of this alley were basketball courts, and then there were brick buildings that surrounded the basketball courts. So you had brick building on this side, the alley, the basketball courts on the right, and then building here, and then an opening to the back area with the other street connected. So I went in there, and a guy comes up to me, looked like he was in his 30s. He gave me a, you know, like, I guess that means, what do you want? What do you need? And I said, all right, I'm gonna order here. And he pulls out this little tiny notepad thing, and he had a red magic marker. It wasn't even magic, it was just a marker. And he wrote what I told him. I only got, the first time, I only bought bottle rockets, and they called it a gross of bottle rockets. And then he gave it to the runner. They have a young dude there, and he does the running. So he hands him the note, and he runs across the thing, and he's gone for like, I don't know, about 10 minutes. And you're sitting on this wall. There's a little wall that extends out from the concrete where all the buildings are. And meantime, you look around, and all the buildings have windows facing into the basketball courts. Everybody knows what's going on there, but nobody's reporting it, right? So, what's up?
You have to stop the video.
Oh, it's my daughter. So anyway, they would bring them to me, and then I would go home and light them off. And it became a bit of a hobby for me to go down there every so often. Every time I had, it was only $4 back then to get a gross of bottle rockets. So every time I had a few dollars there, I would go down to the fireworks people, and I would order stuff. At some point, my favorite thing became something called jumping jacks. I used to buy a bunch of those. What's up?
The food, you were supposed to get the food.
Where is it?
Well, did Mama text you?
No.
Check your phone.
Oh, now she did. Okay.
I don't see the food.
All right, I'm gonna be back in a second. Bye. Be back.